Those of you who have been following me for a bit know that last year, or over the last year, I guess, I released a cybersecurity SaaS application called GrabbrApp. The application did okay. It's made me a little bit of money, not near what I would like for it to have made, and there are a lot of issues with it. If you've been following me on Twitter, you may have seen me talk about how I'm thinking about rewriting the back end, and now I've kind of also decided to rewrite the front end while I'm at it. There is a lot of lift that comes with rewriting a SaaS application, especially one that took me like a year to build. It took me a year to build in part because I was very, very new to a lot of the technologies that I was using. And over the past couple of months, I've released a lot of applications and I've built a lot more applications kind of behind the scenes that I have not released. So to me, there are a lot of reasons why I'm rewriting everything. I'm going to kind of go over some of the core reasons that are behind me rewriting a lot of the stuff behind GrabbrApp. So the idea behind GrabbrApp is that you have got a piece of malicious infrastructure and you have got researchers. Researchers want to research the malicious infrastructure without telling the hackers who are behind the malicious infrastructure who they are, what they're doing, that they're on to them, etc. So GrabbrApp creates kind of a median kind of layer of infrastructure that researchers can use to research malware C2s or basically servers that are launching attacks, things like that. So it's basically a median layer that allows researchers to do their research without tipping off attackers about who they are, and that infrastructure will detonate or kind of disappear every 5 minutes. So that kind of allows you to, rest assured that even if the malicious, hackers behind the infrastructure that you're researching are able to hack into my infrastructure, which I tend to doubt, but even if they were able to do that, they would only have that access for a very short period of time because the infrastructure disappears after that period of time. So let's go into the rewrite. So I've got a couple of reasons for rewrite. One, very, very simple, very, very easy to see. The design sucks. So if we pop over here, we can see this very obviously as soon as you open up the front page. That design is god awful. I mean, all kinds of cluttered. I did not spend near enough time in the actual design of all of this stuff to get it to, look decent. I'm going to redo all of that. All of the colors look terrible. I'm going to be, redoing all of that. The reason why that matters is not just for aesthetics, but people don't want to buy ugly software. That's not because it's ugly, though that is part of it. It's because if I look at that piece of software, that looks like something that somebody whipped up over a weekend, not something that somebody took an entire year to build. This does not look like it took a year to build. It did because, I suck at design, but this whole entire thing needs to be redesigned from the bottom up. I mean, God, it hurts me to look at it. So people don't want to buy ugly software. It, turns them off. It makes them think that the software probably is buggy. Also, number two, the software is buggy. So it works. I have tested it against lots of real infrastructure. I've used it in real investigations, and other people have as well. So it's not just me. But the software is buggy. There are things that don't work the way they need to. There are kind of decisions that I made that, kind of skipped over UI UX that, aren't great. So for example, if you try to hit an endpoint right now that doesn't actually exist, the output that you get in the UI doesn't really tell you much. So I would like to kind of give a little bit more information in that output to the user. So that leads very cleanly into one of the core reasons why I'm redoing GrabbrApp and one of the core reasons why I'm redoing it in Rust. So fixing and updating / upgrading is very hard. So currently I have got a microservice architecture built in Go on top of AWS Lambda. That is both overly complex and entirely unnecessary. It does not need to be built that way at all. All of this can be built in a monorepo in Rust, which is what I'm going to end up doing much more cheaply and much more simply. Right now, if I want to make an update to the API, it's going to be incredibly difficult because I've got literally, I think it's like 36 different endpoints, 36 different microservices that I've got to go into and fix. And Go is a great decision. It's a great language for this, but really there's no reason to do a microservice architecture for this. Like, there are reasons for you to do that. Most of them are kind of bullshit and you don't really need to overcomplicate everything. There are reasons though to do a microservice architecture. I don't see any need in me doing it in this project that I've got. So I'm going to redesign all of that using Rust and a mono, a mono service approach. So a typical RESTful API. And I'll go a little bit more into the infrastructure design in a later video. So the problem with this is I've had a lot of feature requests from existing users that say, oh, it would be awesome, or I would pay for it if it had this feature, if it had that feature. And right now it takes, a monumental effort to figure out where all of those design decisions need to be changed, where all of those features need to be added, how I add endpoints, etc. So when I don't have agility, that's like one of the most important parts about being a solopreneur, as somebody who runs their own business and, is solo running their own business. You have to have that agility. If I don't have that agility and I'm not able to add features quickly, or I'm not able to fix things quickly, I'm kind of screwed. I'm shit out of luck in that case. So I need to be able to have that agility. I need to be able to fix my infrastructure a lot faster. And as part of that, I want to leave AWS. We're talking about way too much complexity within my infrastructure design. AWS is a massive part of that. So right now I'm mainly using their API kind of routing software. I can't even remember what it was because it's been a while since I've actually dealt with it. So I'm routing all of my API endpoints to AWS Lambda, which is something that I'm going to change completely. I'm using S3 for file uploads, which is a pain in the ass. And I am using EC2 and DynamoDB for databases. DynamoDB, because I have no idea how to actually do it properly, is costing me a lot of money compared to like how much money I'm making with this. So if I just backed out and used Postgres instead of using Dynamo, and if I used a normal VPS instead of EC2, and if I used a normal monoservice repo, basically I'm yanking everything out of AWS and using DigitalOcean instead. The reasoning there is I like to have full control over the VPS. I think AWS is way overly complex for the needs that I have. And I can always move back to AWS later, or kind of have a split infrastructure design where I have some stuff on DigitalOcean, I have some stuff on AWS. Technically, I'm already doing that, because in the back end, that layer of infrastructure that I'm creating to allow researchers to ping or to touch malicious infrastructure, that's all on DigitalOcean. I'm not spinning that up on AWS. So I'm already using a split infrastructure design. I'm just moving a lot of the front ends and API stuff over to DigitalOcean as well. I'm going to be using Coolify for that, because that is just a great way to have automated CI/CD and deployments and stuff like that. So again, I'll talk a little bit more about the infrastructure later on once I actually do it. But leaving AWS has been like something that's been on my mind since I deployed to AWS. It is an absolute pain. I'm really irritated at myself for doing it in the first place and not just doing everything with raw VPSs and Postgres databases, etc. But you live and you learn. This is my first real attempt at a startup. Number 5, I need to do more and better marketing. Now, why is that in a video about rebuilding the app itself? Well, right now, because of the current design and how ugly it is, I can't market it very well. People are going to immediately go to the homepage and be like, what the hell? I don't want to buy that. So the redesign is a massive part of the marketing. That's where kind of marketing and building kind of meet in the middle. If you've got a really ugly website, it's very difficult to do any marketing. I'm also going to be building in a blog. I was planning on doing that, in a different way, but I'm just going to build it on Notion, because I'm using Notion a ton already for my blog, my notes, and dev cheat sheets, which is something I also need to work more on. So I'm already using Notion a ton. I'm just going to toss a Notion blog up for GrabbrApp as well. So that goes into SEO, which is a very important part of marketing and getting, folks coming into the site as well. And being able to put up very simple, very easy case studies on how to use GrabbrApp, how I use GrabbrApp, how other people are using GrabbrApp, etc. which is a massive part of marketing. Like content marketing specifically relies very heavily on that kind of use case or case study kind of approaches. So those are 5 of probably like 10 other reasons for the rewrite, but those are like the 5 most important ones. That really is all I kind of wanted to cover in this video. I think GrabbrApp has tons of potential still, but in order to reach that potential, I have to redo everything. I personally believe that if you are a solopreneur who's building stuff, from scratch, from the ground up, it's not a bad idea, honestly, to have a much more open approach to rewriting stuff. Refactoring code as you learn more, especially, is a massive part of being a developer in general and being a solopreneur, in any kind of high-tech space. So I knew at some point I was going to have to do a rewrite, or I probably should do a rewrite, because I'm going to eventually become a better developer, hopefully. But this rewrite specifically has a lot of other reasons behind it than your normal refactor. There are tons of different reasons why I want to do this rewrite. These are the top 5. Check out GrabbrApp. There are going to be a lot of changes coming soon, but that's one of the things that you can do is kind of check it out and see if it's something that you'd be interested in using. If you have any feature requests, drop them in the comments, or you can drop an email to me. You can find my email fairly easily on the site. That's about it. Take it easy. Peace.